I keep wondering every time we're out here if this is the last time we're going to be out here. That's a kind of a hard thought. It's just been so difficult and so sad with the family. I know everybody just wants out of the pain.
Hello there. The wind outside was soft that night, but the tension inside the house could have split the air in half. A low hum of cameras, quiet crew members whispering, and somewhere behind it all, Robyn's voice. Calm, steady, but cold. What no one saw that day was the moment that changed everything. The footage TLC cut, the one piece of the puzzle that never made it to air. It started like any other filming day. Kody was pacing in the kitchen. Christine was at the counter with that polite, practiced smile, and Mary stood by the window, arms folded. But the conversation shifted when Janelle brought up Coyote Pass again. "We keep waiting, and nothing changes," she said. "We're all building dreams that never start." The camera panned to Robyn. She didn't move, she didn't speak, just stared. Then, quietly, she said, "Maybe not everyone deserves to build." The air dropped. You could see Christine's shoulders tense. Janelle blinked like she wasn't sure she'd heard right. Even Kody froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" Christine asked. Her voice soft, measured. Robyn just smiled, a tight, polite smile. "It means," she said, "some people walk away before the foundation is even set." That's when the producer's voice came in through the intercom. "Cut for reset." But insiders say what happened. After that cut was where the real story began. Christine walked off set, whispering to a crew member, "That's the real Robyn." Kody followed her, angry, while Robyn stayed in place, fixing her hair, pretending not to notice the chaos around her. One of the sound engineers later said, "She didn't flinch. She looked like she was expecting it." In the footage TLC decided not to show, Kody and Robyn had a quiet exchange in the next room. His tone was sharp. "You didn't have to say that," he said. Robyn leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't say anything you haven't thought." Kody didn't respond, but his face said enough. From that moment on, something shifted. The divide wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. After that day, the crew noticed small things changing. Call sheets rewritten, filming schedules rearranged. Scenes that once included all the wives now separated. Christine and Janelle's interviews were pushed to later time slots. Robyn's became the anchor footage. Producers later told staff to avoid conflict-heavy framing. Translation: make Robyn look like the glue, not the crack. That's what TLC cut, the power dynamics behind the scenes. Robyn wasn't just a cast member. She'd become something else, a quiet gatekeeper to Kody's narrative. Crew members described her as polite but cautious, sweet but strategic. She knew when the cameras were on, and more importantly, when they weren't. One night during a group scene about family finances, Robyn suggested they take a private talk without the crew. When they returned, Kody announced a new plan. Money would flow differently, projects would be prioritized. Christine and Janelle exchanged looks. They knew what that meant. Their voices, their influence, their say. It was all slipping. Off camera, Janelle reportedly said, "Robyn doesn't need to raise her voice. She just has to raise an eyebrow." It was subtle, silent manipulation, wrapped in calm tones and rehearsed compassion. Even the editors noticed. One insider said, "We had hours of footage where Robyn's words didn't match her expressions. She'd say something kind, but her eyes were somewhere else entirely." That footage never saw daylight. TLC's narrative was clear. Robyn, the misunderstood wife trying to hold everyone together. But the truth, the real footage showed how she held the strings. And yet, there's one clip, one that hasn't been deleted. According to a producer who left the show last year, the night before Christine officially announced she was leaving, Robyn asked for a one-on-one interview. She sat down, looked directly into the camera and said, "They'll blame me, they always do. But someday, they'll see I just did what needed to be done." The clip was cut, never aired, but that line, "what needed to be done," haunts everyone who worked that season. So what exactly did she mean by that? What did Robyn know that the rest didn't? And how far did TLC go to protect the version of her that fans were meant to believe in? Because if the whispers from the editing room are true, there's one more piece of footage, one that could change everything we thought we knew about how this family fell apart. And that, my friends, is where things start to get darker. When the cameras stopped rolling that night, something lingered in the air, a heaviness that didn't come from exhaustion, but realization. The kind of tension that only builds when truth has been spoken aloud and no one knows what to do with it. Christine stayed in her car for almost an hour after leaving the set. No one called her. No one came to check in, except one crew member, who slipped her a note under the windshield wiper. It said only 5 words, They cut more than scenes. Inside the house, Kody was pacing again, but this time his tone wasn't frustration, it was fear. "Do you realize what you've done?" he hissed at Robyn. She stood quietly by the kitchen counter, her face calm. "I told the truth," she replied. But her voice carried something cold, almost detached. Kody lowered his head, rubbing the back of his neck. "You can't keep saying things like that on camera. You don't understand how they'll twist it." Robyn didn't blink. "They can't twist what's real," she said. That moment never aired. What viewers saw instead was a spliced-together version of the conversation, an edited piece where Robyn appeared emotional, misunderstood, fragile. But the raw footage, according to crew members who worked on it, told a different story. One producer described it like this: "It wasn't anger. It wasn't even manipulation. It was control. She knew exactly what would make it into the show, and she used it." Behind the scenes, the crew had started whispering. Some joked that Robyn had TLC immunity. Others said there was a quiet directive from above: minimize Robyn's negative optics, emphasize her compassion. "They wanted a villain, but not her," one editor said. That was reserved for Christine's independence, Janelle's defiance, and Kody's temper. Robyn was the lens, the steady one, the survivor. In one piece of unaired footage, Janelle reportedly confronts Robyn after a group meeting that went sideways. "You're not listening," Janelle says. "You act like we're all the problem, like we're the reason everything's falling apart." Robyn looks straight at her and says, "You've all made your choices. Janelle, don't blame me for the consequences." The words were sharp, surgical. Janelle laughed. That short, breathy kind of laugh people make when they can't believe what they're hearing. "You make it sound like we're your employees." When editors reviewed the tapes, they were told to cut the exchange. "Too direct, too divisive. We don't need to make Robyn the center of conflict," the showrunner had said. "Keep it subtle." But subtle didn't mean harmless. Every scene they left out rewrote the story, piece by piece. In confessionals, Robyn played her role perfectly, the emotional bridge, the peacekeeper caught between chaos, but crew notes from that season show how often her segments were reshot. "She didn't like her tone in that one," one assistant director wrote, "asked to redo with more sadness, less irritation." Another note read, "Robyn requested lighting adjustment, wants softer amber hue." The manipulation wasn't loud, it was quiet, methodical, practiced. Robyn had learned something, Christine hadn't. The real power wasn't in the argument, it was in the edit. Meanwhile, Christine's frustration was boiling. "I'm tired of being polite," she told a friend off camera. "I've been quiet for years while they built this version of me that doesn't even exist." Janelle agreed. "It's like we're all in a script we didn't write. And maybe that's what Robyn understood better than anyone. That reality television isn't about truth, it's about perception." As weeks passed, small decisions behind the scenes began shaping the family's future. A key moment came during a producers' meeting when they discussed how to frame Christine's exit. One executive said, "We need to protect the brand image. Make her choice feel emotional, not logical." Another added, "Focus on Robyn's pain. The audience connects with her tears." What the audience didn't see was the email that circulated days later. Christine's storyline concluded: shift emotional anchor to Robyn-Kody relationship, ensure continuity of empathy. In simpler terms, Christine's freedom was Robyn's close-up. But things were changing fast off. Camera Christine's silence had turned into distance. Janelle was starting to ask harder questions, and even Mary, the quiet one, had begun to retreat. Kody, caught in the middle, grew more defensive with every passing week. Crew members recall him showing up late, refusing to film certain scenes, muttering that he was done being the bad guy. Still, whenever he and Robyn filmed together, the energy shifted. She had a way of softening him. "It's us against the noise," she'd say. And that noise, Kody began to believe, was everyone else. By the end of that production cycle, TLC's editing room was a battlefield of decisions: what to show, what to hide, which version of each wife to preserve. Robyn's image always came out clean, even when it shouldn't have. "It was like they had a sacred rule," one assistant editor said. "Never make Robyn look like the reason the family split." No matter what the footage said. But there was one clip, one they couldn't quite erase. During a late-night confessional, hours after filming had wrapped, a camera operator caught Robyn talking under her breath, unaware the mic was still hot. She was sitting alone, taking off her mic pack when she whispered, "You can't save people who don't want saving. Sometimes you just let them walk away." That line never aired. It was labeled unauthorized B-roll, locked in the vault, never to be used. Christine never saw that clip, but she felt the truth of it. The next morning, she sent a text to the group chat, one that simply read, "I'm done trying." From that moment, there was no going back. But the mystery isn't just about what Robyn said, It's about what TLC chose not to show. The moment where her calm words reshaped the entire family dynamic. Crew members claim there's still one missing piece. A conversation between Robyn and a producer that could rewrite the story of how the Browns truly fell apart. That conversation was caught on camera. It exists. And according to a former editor, it's the one scene TLC will never release. So what was said in that hidden exchange? And what truth about Robyn's quiet power could possibly be so damaging that even TLC buried it? Whatever it was, that moment didn't just end a show, it ended a family. And the real story, it's just beginning to surface. It was late. The kind of late where everything feels quieter than it should. The lights were off in most of the house, except for the small glow of a lamp in the corner. The crew had packed up, the cameras stored away, but the microphones, some were still rolling. That's how the final conversation began, the one TLC buried, the one no one outside that circle was ever meant to hear. Robyn sat alone at the kitchen island, her phone in her hand, scrolling through something. Then came the soft creak of footsteps, a producer she trusted, one who'd worked on the show since the beginning. "Rough night?" he asked. She didn't look up. "You have no idea," she said, voice steady. "They make me the villain, but they forget who built the story." It wasn't arrogance, it was clarity. She knew exactly where she stood, not just in the family, but in the production hierarchy. She was the last wife standing, the face of endurance, the calm after Christine's storm, and TLC needed her that way. But what the producer didn't expect was what she said next. "I don't want to be the one to save him anymore," she whispered. "I just want to protect what's left." The mic caught every word. When that clip hit the editing room, there was a meeting, a long one. Executives argued over tone, messaging, image. "We can't air this," one said. "It sounds like she's admitting she's in control," another countered. "Or it makes her sound honest." Real viewers love that. But honesty can cut deeper than fiction, and this time, it cut too close to the truth. The footage was labeled sensitive, archived, and locked away. Meanwhile, Christine was gone. Janelle was halfway there, and Kody, he was unraveling in slow motion. Friends of the family say the change in Kody was subtle at first, quieter dinners, fewer calls, long stares that said more than words. He told one crew member, "I thought I was leading a family. Turns out I was managing a production." He wasn't wrong. The family dynamic had shifted long before Christine left. He just hadn't noticed who was steering it. Every major decision started running through Robyn. Where to film, what to address, what not to address. She didn't make demands, a staff member recalled. She made suggestions that felt like orders. When a scene felt uncomfortable, Robyn would smile and say, "Maybe that's not the story we want to tell." And somehow, the crew always listened. One of the assistant directors described the environment perfectly. Everyone treated her like glass, but it wasn't because she was fragile. It was because breaking her would mean breaking the show. Then came the family retreat. The weekend TLC filmed to reconnect everyone. Fans saw the highlights. Hugs, awkward laughter, half-hearted attempts at reconciliation. What they didn't see was what happened on the second day. It was supposed to be a group breakfast. Christine was invited but didn't show. Janelle was late. Mary sat quietly, drinking coffee. Robyn came in last, wearing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Kody was already talking about forgiveness, unity, rebuilding trust. But the room was still. No one was buying it. Then Robyn leaned forward, her voice soft but cutting through the silence. "Forgiveness is easy when you're not the one being blamed." Kody looked confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked. Robyn didn't blink. "It means I'm tired of carrying the weight for everyone else's choices." The cameras caught everything, Janelle's shock, Mary's discomfort, and Kody's stunned silence. The line was too raw, too revealing. When editors reviewed it later, they agreed to cut it. "We can't have Robyn sounding defensive," the producer said. "She's the emotional anchor now." But behind closed doors, that line was a confession. She wasn't just tired, she was cornered. The truth was simple and painful. Robyn had been playing both sides. She was trying to protect her image while controlling the story, holding on to Kody while keeping TLC close enough to shape the edit. Every episode became a balancing act, a performance layered with guilt, love, fear, and quiet resentment. And while the audience saw a woman holding a family together, insiders saw a woman holding power with careful precision. The next scripts called for emotional monologues. Robyn complied, but she wasn't happy. "You're not showing who I really am," she told one director. "We're showing what you want to be," he replied. That conversation never aired either, but it was the next scene, the one filmed at Robyn's house late one night, that broke everything. It was supposed to be a solo segment, Robyn talking about rebuilding trust with Kody. She looked exhausted, her voice trembling. I thought this would be a family, she said, but now it's just fragments. She paused, then added something that changed the entire tone. I told him to stop trying with them. It was only hurting him. There it was, the quiet confession. She wasn't just part of the collapse, she was the architect of its final form. That single line was enough to spark chaos behind the scenes. Editors debated, executives panicked. If that goes live, the entire narrative collapses. Someone said in a call, "We'll look complicit." The footage was scrubbed, trimmed, rewritten. What fans eventually saw was a softer version, Robyn crying about being misunderstood. But those who worked that season said it was never about misunderstanding. It was about control, guilt, and survival. She knew exactly what she was doing, a former producer admitted. She wasn't trying to destroy the family. She was trying to preserve what she believed was left, even if it meant letting everything else burn. For years, Robyn carried that secret. She never addressed it publicly. But people close to her say it still haunts her. The moment she realized her words had reshaped the entire legacy of the Browns. And yet, that's not the whole story, because there's one more piece of footage, one more confession whispered off camera that not even TLC's vault could hide forever. It's the clip where Robyn admits what she told Kody the night Christine walked away. The sentence that never aired, the one that changed how Kody looked at everyone else from that day forward. And according to those who've heard it, it's the real reason the family will never ever be whole again. When Christine's car disappeared down the Flagstaff Road that morning, the cameras were still rolling. They always were. Robyn stood behind him, her hand resting lightly on his arm, a gesture that was both comforting and controlling. She didn't speak right away. She waited for the silence to settle before whispering, "Let her go. It's better this way." That line never aired. The final cut turned it into a moment of empathy, a soft expression, a sigh, a tear. But in the raw footage, her tone wasn't sorrowful. It was final, almost rehearsed. "Better this way" sounded less like grief and more like strategy, and it wasn't lost on the crew who'd spent years watching how Robyn maneuvered moments like this. She wasn't cold, she was composed, calculating every move, aware of every camera angle. One of the editors described it later. She doesn't react, she directs the moment. Every time something emotional happens, she looks at Kody first, then at the camera, like she's checking how it'll play. Inside the house, Kody tried to start another speech for the cameras. Something about family and healing and moving forward, but Robyn interrupted him. "No one wants to hear another speech, Kody," she said quietly. "They want to see who you are without them." That line made it to air, but what came next didn't. The cameras kept rolling as she added, "So stop chasing ghosts." Christine made her choice. "You have to make yours." That was the night. Everything shifted. Kody stopped reaching out. He stopped texting the older kids. He stopped trying to repair the image. From that point forward, it was Kody and Robyn against the world, or at least that's how it looked. But behind the scenes, TLC wasn't celebrating the drama. They were scrambling. Ratings were high, but the narrative was slipping. The audience had turned. Fans no longer saw Kody as a patriarch struggling to lead a family. They saw a man trapped under Robyn's quiet influence. And Robyn, despite her public composure, knew it. She told producers she didn't want to do confessionals for a while. "The more I talk, the worse it gets," she said. "Let Kody speak for us." But the truth, TLC didn't want her silence. They needed her tears, her composure, her moral high ground. She was the face of the family's final act. Without her, the story didn't work. So they did what television always does. They pushed. They prodded. They asked questions designed to pull emotion from exhaustion. And Robyn, ever aware of how the story worked, gave them just enough. A single tear here, a quiet sigh there. But what the viewers didn't know was that every confession was carefully planned. One night, during a long filming session, a producer asked, "Do you think you had any part in the distance between Kody and the kids?" Robyn looked down, her hands folded, then gave that trademark pause before whispering, "Maybe I didn't fight hard enough." It was a perfect soundbite, remorseful, humble, safe. But seconds after the director called cut, Robyn exhaled sharply and said, "That should keep them off me for a while." It wasn't cruelty. It was exhaustion disguised as strategy. By that point, even the crew was beginning to fracture. Some sided with Robyn, convinced she was doing what she had to do to survive in a collapsing family. Others saw something darker, a quiet orchestration of events that always seemed to end with Robyn and Kody looking untouched. It was everything the show used to be, but without the tension, TLC couldn't compete with authenticity, so they leaned harder into drama. Producers started hinting at lost footage, promising fans they'd see the full story soon. But they knew they wouldn't. That footage, the scenes of Robyn's influence, the subtle shifts in Kody's words, the quiet conversations that changed the tone of the entire show, were never going to air. One assistant editor leaked part of a transcript to a journalist, under the condition of anonymity. It was from a late-night production meeting after Christine's departure. In it, Robyn said, "They keep blaming me, but someone had to make the decisions. Kody couldn't." That single line was enough to spark chaos online. TLC issued a statement calling it taken out of context. Robyn stayed silent. But silence is never empty. It's filled with intent. Weeks later, the family gathered for what would become one of the final group scenes. The house was smaller now, quieter, colder. The air felt like a memory. Mary sat on one side of the couch, Janelle on another, both staring at the floor. Kody tried to lighten the mood with small talk, but it was Robyn who ended the pretense. "You all want me to be the villain," she said. "Maybe I am." The room froze. The line was cut before it aired. What replaced it was a softer exchange, a watered-down version, where Robyn appeared fragile and misunderstood. But that original clip, according to a source close to post-production, was devastating. Not because of what she said, but because of how she said it, calmly, almost proudly. One producer said, "That was the moment she took ownership, not of guilt but of control." It was like watching someone realize they'd already won. In the days that followed, Kody doubled down on protecting Robyn. He refused to film certain segments without her. He skipped interviews. He told production he was done feeding the hate. TLC, desperate to salvage the show, offered him a new angle: rebuilding, renewal, the aftermath. But fans weren't buying it. They didn't want redemption. They wanted truth. And that truth, the one hiding in hours of unaired footage, wasn't about family drama anymore. It was about power, quiet, deliberate, and dangerously invisible. Because behind every emotional breakdown, behind every failed conversation and shattered bond, there was always a moment that didn't make the cut. A look, a whisper, a suggestion that changed the tone of everything that followed. And Robyn was always there, watching, waiting, adjusting the story with a single sentence. Now, people inside TLC say there's one final sequence, the one Robyn reportedly demanded never see the light of day, a scene filmed after hours, when she thought the microphones were off. In that clip, she allegedly says something that made one senior producer quit on the spot. "You can't save everyone," she told someone off camera. "You just have to make sure the right people stay." That one sentence, that chilling calm, might be the truest thing Robyn ever said. But what did she mean by the right people? And why did TLC bury the only scene that might finally explain what really happened to the Browns? Whatever that missing footage contains, it isn't just a deleted scene. It's the key to understanding how love, loyalty, and fame slowly turned into control, silence, and collapse. And somewhere in a locked hard drive in a TLC editing room, that truth is still waiting to be seen. That night, the cameras had stopped filming hours ago, but something about the air in that house felt staged, even in silence. The crew had left, the lights dimmed, yet Kody and Robyn sat in the living room, the glow from a single lamp casting their shadows long across the floor. What happened next was never meant to be seen. Kody leaned back, his voice softer than usual. "Do you ever think about how we got here?" he asked. Robyn didn't answer right away. She looked at him, then down at her hands, fidgeting with the edge of a tissue. "Every day," she said, "but you can't fix what wasn't broken by you." It sounded like comfort, but there was a weight in her tone, like she was choosing her words carefully. One by one, Kody tilted his head. "What do you mean?" Robyn smiled. That small, quiet smile that always seemed to end every argument before it began. "Some people never wanted peace, Kody. They wanted freedom. And freedom doesn't include you." That line, "Freedom doesn't include." You became something of a legend among the editing crew. It was never aired, never even transcribed. The file was marked for deletion, but someone saved a copy on an encrypted drive. That was the moment. One of the editors said years later, that was the night everything truly ended, because in that one sentence, Robyn confirmed what no one had dared to say aloud, that she wasn't trying to hold the family together anymore. She was trying to help Kody let it go. After that conversation, things changed behind the scenes. Kody stopped arguing with production. He stopped trying to defend his choices. He started agreeing with everything Robyn said, even the things that didn't sound like him during one producer check. And he said, "I just want to follow her lead now." And from that point on, he did. Every decision, from filming schedules to talking points, ran through Robyn first. Producers noticed the difference immediately. "She wasn't emotional anymore," one said. "She was strategic. Every question we asked her, she'd pause, look down, then answer like she was reading from a script she wrote herself." Meanwhile, TLC's internal analytics showed something unexpected. The audience's sympathy for Robyn was fading. Viewers were calling her the mastermind, the manipulator, the hidden producer. And for the first time, the network panicked. A confidential meeting was called at TLC headquarters. The notes, later leaked by a former intern, painted a clear picture: reframe Robyn's image, emphasize motherhood, emotional burden, avoid discussion of leadership dynamic with Kody, edit out any direct reference to decision-making. In short, rewrite reality again. But the problem was, reality had already leaked. Crew members had started whispering to fan blogs. You think you've seen manipulation on camera, you haven't seen the half of it. What the viewers didn't know was that TLC had dozens of hours of footage, scenes that told a very different story. Moments where Robyn wasn't the tearful wife or misunderstood stepmother, but the quiet orchestrator, guiding every conversation, shaping every emotional beat. In one of those deleted moments, Janelle confronted Robyn in the kitchen. "Why do you always talk for him?" she asked. "Why does everything go through you?" Robyn's reply was simple: because he needs someone who understands what's at stake. The silence that followed was long, painful even to watch. Janelle finally said, "You mean someone who knows how to control the story." Robyn didn't flinch. "Call it what you want," she said. "But at least I'm keeping it alive." That single exchange could have rewritten how fans saw everything, but it never aired. When editors tried to include it in a season recap, executives overruled them. "We can't break the illusion," they said. "We need the audience to feel hope, not blame." But even hope has an expiration date. By the time the next season was filmed, Christine had fully moved on. She was glowing, happy, unbothered. Janelle was quietly independent, living her life without apology, and Mary, always the enigma, had begun distancing herself from both sides entirely. That left Robyn and Kody, sitting in an empty frame, trying to make a family out of ghosts. And that's when TLC made one last push. They called it the healing season, a special that would bring everyone together one last time. But there was a catch. Every wife had to agree to appear, and the filming would take place at Robyn's house. Christine said no. Janelle refused. Mary hesitated, then agreed, only if it was filmed fairly. The cameras rolled for 3 days. Viewers saw about 40 minutes of it, but the rest, it's still locked away. A sound engineer who worked those sessions later revealed that something extraordinary happened on the second day. During a heated exchange about moving forward, Mary said something that stopped everyone cold. "You keep saying family," she said to Robyn, "but you don't mean all of us. You mean your version of us." Robyn's reply was quiet but sharp. "My version is the only one left." The air went still. Even Kody didn't speak. When that line was reviewed in post-production, the executive producer wrote a single note in red ink: "Do not air. Too final." That was the last time the family was filmed together in one room. And now, years later, the mystery remains. What else did TLC cut? What conversations were too dangerous, too real, too revealing to share? Former editors say there's one final file, labeled Season 20 Face Sequence 47D, unreleased. It's the raw, unedited footage from that final night of filming. In it, Robyn reportedly breaks down and admits something that made the entire control room fall silent. One witness said she whispered, "It was never about love, it was about survival." After that, the screen faded to black. The audio continued for a few seconds, muffled sobs, shuffling, a chair scraping the floor. Then a voice, it's hard to tell if it's Kody's or the producer's, quietly says, "Cut it, end it there." And that's exactly what TLC did. They ended the scene, they ended the family, and they ended the truth. To this day, that footage has never been shown. The official story is that it was lost during post-production, but the insiders know better. It wasn't lost. It was buried, because that clip didn't just reveal Robyn's role in the family's collapse. It exposed how the network itself shaped every fracture, every silence, every truth the audience believed. And, here's the most chilling part, according to one source who still works at TLC, the vault containing that footage is labeled for potential future documentary use. So maybe, just maybe, the world hasn't seen the last of it. Maybe someday, that hidden tape will surface. Maybe the truth about the Browns, not the edited, televised version, but the real one, will finally come to light. But until then, all we have are whispers, fragments, and the unshakable feeling that the biggest secret wasn't who broke the family, but who benefited when it broke. And when that truth finally comes out, it won't just change how we see Robyn Brown, it will change how we see reality television forever, because sometimes the most dangerous scenes are the ones we were never meant to see. If you're still here, you already know this story isn't over, not even close. So go ahead, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay close. Because when the next leak drops, when that missing footage finally surfaces, you'll want to be right here, when everything TLC tried to hide finally comes to light. And trust me, you won't believe what's still hidden behind those cameras.